Hello, we are live, and before anything we want to make sure that you can see us and hear us okay. So we would really appreciate if you left a comment. And once again, it's me, Érika, who's gonna do the sculpt here in Nomad. I've got my iPad on the side, as you can see on the screen. And behind me is Michael. He's modding today. You can kind of see his hand. Yeah, there he is. He's gonna be on the chat, checking all your questions, anything that you want to say, share with us. So yeah. Well, it seems to be working okay.
Yeah.
So,
Let's go ahead.
yep, I'm just gonna get started. On the top right, you can see the reference that I'm gonna be using for this sculpt. For the video, we use a lady lips reference, so I figured that it would be good to switch around now with a male example. So I'm gonna get started here in Nomad. I'm just gonna open the same reference on my computer to see it with more detail. I always work with reference. Every single time, I just rather know what I'm doing instead of making things up. I find that when I work without reference, I tend to make out of nowhere a lot of decisions that make no sense, or things are not working, and you just lose a lot of time when you don't have any reference. Okay, so this was just a regular new project in Nomad. I deleted that sphere because it's not a perfect sphere. It's more like an inflated cube, and I rather make a new sphere. I'm gonna work with slightly low topology. It's just easier to later add the topology. Okay, and at the very start of the sculpt, I have my camera on orthographic. I'm gonna change it later. And I'm gonna add a couple levels of subdivision inside multi-resolution, so I can go higher and lower depending on what I'm doing. So I'm gonna stay slightly higher this time. I'm gonna use the project tool over here. I'm gonna set it to rectangle and flip it so what's inside the rectangle is not affected. Here we go. This looks alright to me. So this is the basic shape that we need for the lips. Some kind of like bloated tuna can. Just gonna flatten it a little bit. And it seems pretty ready to me, this base. Gonna change this to turntable. At the moment I don't need to switch around like crazy. And let's add a couple more levels of subdivision. I'm gonna now use the crease tool. Actually, like in the video, I'm gonna add another sphere, low resolution, and this is gonna be for blocking out the location of the nose. The nose is very important, even though we're not modeling noses, but the nose is gonna give me the width of where the mask of the mouth starts, like the laughing lines, they have a separation between them, so that's gonna be very important in this case. My reference is got a very narrow nose. Sometimes you will have wider noses, so it can be all over the place. And this is the reason behind why I want to have at least a simple blocking of a nose. And I care about the width, including the wings of the nose. Again, multi-resolution can be useful here.
Érika?
Yep.
Was your computer taking off last week, or was it particularly loud today?
I kind of feel like it's very loud today.
Turn the streaming bitrate back down to 1500.
Okay, just gonna make some adjustments because my computer is old and it likes to complain. What was it before?
1500, 1500.
Okay. Yep, it's turned down.
Okay.
Alright, let's carry on. And I have autosave. Let's just put live stream lips. Cool.
Auto save what? Oh, for you. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, for the sculpt.
Yeah.
Yep, and just wanna kind of block in where the septum of the nose is, because that's also gonna affect this area, this middle area that's known as the philtrum. And the higher silhouette, the top silhouette of the top lip is known as the cupid's bow, because it kind of makes like a bow shape. So it also depends on the width of the center of the nose, like how it finishes, how intense this philtrum area is gonna be. So hopefully my computer is not ridiculously loud. And I think that kind of works. I might have to scale it a little. That looks alright to me. Okay, now we can start more blocking here. So I'm gonna use the crease tool, but I'm gonna change the fall off to just a point, so it doesn't affect so much what's around. So if I had a regular fall off, it kinda pulls a lot more area like this and here. Whereas if I change my fall off to just a point, maybe increase a tiny bit the pinch force, it's just the very center that creates the line without affecting the rest. So let's put it to the front, and I'm gonna start by blocking the bottom, the sad face rhythm that's on the top of the chin, this over here. And I'm gonna go around, it goes slightly flat here before going up, and it goes higher than the wings of the nose, but we don't really need that here. Of course, if we need to make adjustments here, we can use the move tool, you can use drag. If it's like something really subtle, we can even just use notch. Somewhere like this maybe. Alright, and around the area where we have the corners of the mouth is where this rhythm turns back inside. So it's going up and then turns towards the nose. So I want to make sure that it's in the correct location. Somewhere around here. Ooh, I see a comment from Juliette, who's watching from France. That is amazing. It's really great to have you here. Michael will probably really tell you that I speak a bit of French, but I haven't practiced in a long time, so don't expect a lot from me. But yeah, it's great to have you here, and we would love to know where you guys are watching from. We still have only a couple viewers at the moment, but hopefully more people will join soon. So let's carry on with this blogging. So my reference actually has kind of a wide mask of the mouth, which is pretty interesting. Here on the top is really marked where the turn goes back inside, and it actually gets a bit narrow here, so the smooth tool also helps like erasing these lines that we're doing. So maybe more like this, and somewhere around here for the crease of the mouth. Michael is very silent today, but he's around. Well, you probably saw that he's in the chat. But if you have any question, anything you want to share with us, we are here. Michael is the one who does all the other videos in Small Robot Studio, like all the render related stuff, most of the CG stuff really. All the CG stuff that I've been doing on the channel is pretty much just Nomad. But he is the renderman guy. He might be a bit too sleepy right now for engaging in conversation, because it's around well, I woke up at 6 a.m. It's now 7 a.m. over here. In case you didn't know, we are in New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud. Now, something that happens very often to me is that I choose pinch instead of crease. Pinch will work as a magnet for the mesh. It will like bring together the mesh, but it doesn't really modify the geometry, which is why I was like trying to make strokes and nothing happened. Crease is gonna do two actions. It's gonna carve up and down the mesh, and it's also gonna attract like a magnet. We can change the amount of like magnet force it's got here in this top menu with pinch force. So it really depends what you're doing. If you pull it all the way down, it's gonna work a bit more like a brush tool. So yeah, it's easy to get it confused. I think especially because I'm almost sure that in ZBrush the tool that does this is actually called pinch. But yeah, and now the last thing that I want to block in are the nodes. In the video I mentioned this like bean shapes right outside. Usually the upper section has a bit more volume. In my case there's a bit flat, but in the reference we can sort of see them a bit more defined. So I'm gonna block a little bit that shape so I know it's there, so I don't forget it. Kinda goes like this. And of course, if you need more resolution, use it here. If you feel like the crystal is not very strong, like you need to press a lot your pen, you might need to change your pressure settings. Or another option is inside the stroke setting. If you go down, look for intensity multiplier. This will multiply the strength of the intensity, so it's gonna carve a lot deeper or bring the volumes a lot higher without putting that much pressure on the pen. Right, so this looks good to me. I only have one reference showing for you, but I actually have more of different points of views, from side view, top view. This like very extreme angles of like looking very low. It's very helpful because you can see the silhouette of the whole thing from a very different point of view that we are used to. Because it might look okay from the front, but yeah, if we go to this like extreme bottom view, you'll be like, actually it doesn't work. So that's a really good thing to look out for. Okay, so as I did on the video, I'm gonna carve a bit more this crease. Again, maybe I need a bit more resolution. Carve it down, 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 down. And now I'm gonna do a mask. I'm gonna select the top lip. This area around here. And with the move tool, I'm gonna bring the bottom lip towards the, to little resolution. Okay. So I'm kind of gonna close that crease. So there's actual overlap here, and not just a weird hole. And kind of works. I kind of feel like the lips are too flat, and that's not right because the lips are in a kind of cylinder shape. So I'm gonna make sure I fix that in just a second. I'm just gonna do what I just did for the top lip, getting it in place. Ooh, and just looking at the comments, we have J Stark, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sorry, from San Francisco, is that right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes, San Francisco Bay Area. So it's great to see you here. I haven't been to San Francisco. I wanna. It looks like a really cool place. And I'm gonna drink a bit of water because my voice is going husky. Alright. So let's delete this mask, and yes, we have the overlap, but as I said before, this is too flat. The lips shouldn't be flat, and this is where multi-resolution helps, because I'm gonna forget about all that detail that I had before. I'm gonna use the move tool, set to normal, and pull these shapes. Let's see again with detail. Kinda starts looking better. I still don't love it. Let's see. It's really the best if you can catch this kind of mistakes as soon as possible. It's, well, we started with a tuna can shape, but it was, maybe I flattened it too much, and this is why it wasn't quite working. Oh, thank you for the comments and the... Oh, that's really nice. J starred. I don't know why it's that difficult to pronounce for me. Oh, the buffering is skipping the settings. Damn. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah.
I think it's on our end, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah, the problem is that I have an old computer.
I don't know if it's even your computer. I think it could be the net right now or something.
Yeah, that, I guess that could be it as well. I tried to speak in more detail of the tool settings on the videos, and on the actual tutorials where I stop and I can point out things like the menu is right here, or those specifics. So I'll try to narrate them. Hopefully, maybe the recording is gonna catch them a bit better. But yeah, I'm sorry that that's happening. Okay, so I fixed a little bit this. It might still need a bit of refining, but yeah, we can work with this. So I'm gonna put it again to the very front, and I'm gonna block in the top lip. So I'm just bringing up the top silhouette, what is known as the cupid's bow. Somewhere like this. It goes kind of low in the center. I'm just gonna carve it up. Maybe I need even more resolution levels. Yep, I'm gonna put the pinch force down. And that looks nice to me. I might put another mask to protect it so I don't affect anything else in the sculpt. I am using the selection mask tool set to lasso. So it's just a faster selection than painting it. And okay, Michael's gonna make some adjustments to the computer. Hopefully it will make it perform better. We might try to do it at some point with another computer to see if it has better results.
Did you change anything else yesterday?
The output resolution? I think it was on video. Yeah. Output scale. Okay, while Michael is doing that, I'm just gonna start building volume from top lip, because we have this shape. Actually, I should also put in the philtrum here. So it's also this walls going up. And I'm looking at my reference, and they don't have so much slant. They're actually a bit more vertical. Somewhere like that. Okay. So let's start building up. So the philtrum to the sides makes like a slide shape. So that's what I wanna obtain right now. I'm just using the clay tool with no alpha, so it has a bit less texture. Otherwise it might leave like very visible brush strokes. Alright. I might need to go on a level even lower. And I can also build some of the volume created by the bean shape, by the nodes. Maybe push down a little bit the depression of the philtrum at the very center, but I see on my reference that it's not as deep. I'm used to looking at my face, of course, so a lot of my decisions are gonna be unconsciously based on my face. So that might also happen to you. Gotta be really aware that's a thing. Just doing some smoothing and gonna make a pinch here to to enhance these shapes, and this is still all over the place, so maybe with flatten I can refine this side slide to go smoother. Sometimes I find it much better to use flatten to make uniform surfaces instead of smooth, because flatten, what it's gonna do is gonna project like everything into like an average point. Alright, I think we are back now. Sorry about that.
Change the same here.
Yeah, I already put it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we seem to be struggling today with this. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, my old computer seems to be complaining today. So, in case you missed what I was saying, I started building up the inside shapes of the top lip. The outside, these pillows are flatter in comparison to the very center that is like a heart shaped. You can, well, yeah, like poke your face and feel it. Make sure that your hands are washed. You don't want to be touching your face when there's a pandemic going around. And I might need to use a little bit the relax tool, which is the smooth tool with its settings to relax. And what this is gonna do is gonna like soften the mesh without really changing the geometry.
That fixed it.
Oh, cool.
Your computer can't handle 1080.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we might need to do some tests on your computer, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to know that it's working better now. Hopefully now you can see the actual settings of the tool that I'm working on. So yeah, this step might be a bit boring because it's just like adjusting shapes, pulling them up a little, pulling them down a little, comparing reference. So really any question that you have, feel free to share it. Even if it's not necessarily related to what I'm doing right now in Nomad, if it's some other setting, or if you wanna know a bit more about us as artists, as human beings, I suppose. At the moment, I know that we got someone from San Francisco and France. So if there's someone else who would like to share where they are watching from, we would love to hear that. And in case you missed it, Michael and I are in New Zealand, but I'm actually Mexican. Michael is a New Zealander. So I want to refine a little bit these shapes. I'm using crease, but I changed the fall off. I was using first this like point to make the lines to mark the landmarks, but now I change it to something softer, so it's not like so harsh, the result, but it's like, as you can see here, like a nice like mountain that creates. And yeah, it's giving me better results for what I'm doing right now, which is shaping with more detail the top lip. Now, unlike the video, the tutorial, This is a male lip, so it's not gonna be as volumetric. The bottom is kind of squishy, but the top is very flat, and that is the main difference that you'll see between male and female. Female lips tend to be a bit more volumetric, but also this is a generalization. Just look for whatever you are sculpting. The references are gonna change quite a bit between people, and you'll be surprised what is considered like a female like feature, a female only feature. You will see it in a lot of males, and it not necessarily is gonna look feminine, if that makes sense. And I see that we have someone from Mexico, from Querétaro. Bienvenido, compa. Qué gusto que estés por acá. Me parece que te he visto en Twitter. And I'm gonna switch back to English because I don't wanna make people feel excluded. But yeah, Querétaro is a lovely place. It's really close to Mexico City, where I'm from. And there's actually a lot of like animation scene going on there. I believe there's a couple studios there. Big studios, some of the biggest ones in Latin America. So yeah, it's a cool place. It's a historic place. I don't think you've been to Querétaro, Michael.
No.
The last time I went, I was for like an animation conference, kind of. That was on 2019, it must have been. And I was surprised of how much the city has grown. Like, it's huge, and it used to be way smaller, yeah. So one day, when we can travel again, I really recommend going to Querétaro. Okay, so we're gonna have the main shape of the top lip. I'm still gonna do adjustments. So I'm gonna reverse my mask now to protect that area. Actually, I don't like very much how the philtrum this slides. It should be soft, not a step. Okay, this looks better. Yeah, so bottom lip. I can see that my compa from Mexico is telling me that he follows me on Twitter. I'm sorry, my Twitter is a bit boring. I don't really put much out there, and I lately seem that I'm getting more followers. It's like, maybe I should start putting more relevant things. I've just been, I think, reposting the videos that come out on YouTube. Okay, so the bottom shape, as a reminder, the bottom lip is a bit shorter, it's not as long as the top one, and it's only made of 2 pillows, 2 on the side. It doesn't have the middle one like the top lip, and the top lip tends to be a bit more boxy, while the bottom is rounder, more volumetric. Okay, so I'm just using more clay tool to build this up. And shortly I'm gonna change my camera to perspective, because at the moment I am on orthographic. I like to use orthographic in the first stages, but it's we don't see in our eyes are not orthographic. So if you keep going sculpting in orthographic, it's gonna look weird once you change it to perspective. So it's better to sculpt thinking of how our eyes actually see the world. Alright, a bit of flatten tool for the sides. And of course make sure to check side view, top view, bottom view. Here I'm looking at the silhouette, overall silhouette. And I'm just gonna look real quick at other point of views. Okay. And if you again poke your face, you'll see that the bottom lip actually has like a depression, but it's hidden. We don't really see it because it's overlapped by the front of the lip. Just like this depression that we have here on the front, on the philtrum, we have like a mirror one around the bottom. So I can do that easily with the move tool. It's set again to normal. Just gonna make it small, and I'm gonna push this not a lot, just a little bit, somewhere like that. And from the front I'm gonna conceal it. It's overlapped, it's not very visible. It's there, but gotta make sure that it's just visible from the right point of view. This area underneath the top lip retreats back. It goes back before going out again for the chin. So now I'm gonna carve that down. Again, just a simple clay brush. A bit of smoothing to make these surfaces more uniform, and I am here. This rhythm is just the very top of the chin. It's an arch, like a C curve, that it's easy to remember because it's like a sad face. This is like the mouth of the sad face. I can actually paint it on the model. So let me choose a color. So that's the sad face, and it's gonna change a lot. Some people are gonna have like a way sadder face, or it's gonna be more serious than sad. But yeah, it's a good rhythm. It's easy to identify. It's fun. Well, I find it funny. And I'm just gonna make this a bit more uniform. These original lines that we made as references are gonna disappear as we work. We're gonna see them on the volumes, but we don't need them like lines anymore. It's more like volumes at this point. You can of course paint them on top of your model, of course, if it's easier for you. Just with the paint tool you can go and mark like the bean shape and where the corner of the mouth is and that sort of thing. But you might need like higher resolutions so the paint works, because this is vertex paint. Which is why I don't do it, because I like to start with low resolution meshes. So this looks looks alright. Let me see how it looks without the mask. Still needs some refinement, but I can judge shapes, and I want to judge from this angle. So I'm just gonna look for my reference. I'm afraid that I'm only showing you the front one, because my computer would complain a lot more if I were to show you every single image that I'm looking at. Okay, so here it's a bit more clear that the top lip it's wider than the bottom lip. Actually, I want to flatten out this a bit more. You can also see kind of like the flatness of the side pillows. And of course that the lips don't sit on a flat plane. They're more like on a cylinder, like a bloated tuna can. And yes, from this point of view you can appreciate better this depression underneath. And you can see the set fade rhythm from another point of view, in case you need to refine it or something. And this is just the start of the chin, so just add a bit of volume to help me out. Okay, before I forget, as I usually do, which is a very bad habit of me, I'm gonna change my camera to perspective. And this is like the amount of distortion it's gonna have. By default it's around on 25, which should be similar to what we see with our eyes, with our eyes. And let me change back to another reference. I'm gonna build up with less resolution this volume of the laughing line. So this is this muscle, this like very squishy muscle that starts on the side of the nose and goes around. It's like the one that frames this area, this mouth mask that we make for the mouth, and as it gets lower it gets flatter. So it's rounder here at the top, and then it kinda blends down. This might change between person to person. If you're curious about how to age people, always think about these masses, like these big volumes, because they are usually gonna droop down. There's like people that end up with like really marked wrinkles here because these volumes start falling. So yeah, anything that is like hanging volume in the face eventually is very likely to start drooping with older age. And I am observing that this is probably too long when my model is way shorter from that distance. So I'm gonna modify that. And this is where multi-resolution is really handy, because I can go lower and it's way more manageable than simply trying to move a bunch of vertices by hand. So I'm gonna choose this area with a mask. I can refine my mask with higher resolutions. Oops. Okay. And then go down again. Yep, somewhere like that. I'm gonna reverse my mask. I'm gonna edit my pivot a little bit. And now I'm gonna reduce this. Again, this is probably something that I should have cut earlier, but I don't think that it hurts me a lot because I have multi-resolution, so it's kind of like an easy fix. I'm actually gonna delete the highest level, it's probably too much from what I need at the moment. So that looks a bit more accurate. And I think that they might still look a bit too feminine. Very likely because I'm used to looking at my own lips, so I will unconsciously go into that direction because that's what my brains know better. But my brain, only one singular brain. So I'm gonna try to fix this. So maybe change the silhouette a little bit. I need to adjust the shape of the laughing line. See, maybe if I inflated too much the lips, that could also be a thing. Yeah, I think I can push these sides. Michael, if you have any input on how to make these lips more male looking, you would probably have a good insight because you're used to male lips looking at yourself.
The lower lip doesn't have that much of a downward depression in the center.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the reference, the lower lip connects more closely to the corners as well.
Okay.
For this reference specifically.
Yeah.
Then also you've made the top lip quite feminine by having it come up in sort of like I can't really describe it. This part here, it comes up like that, where it should be kind of going over more in more of the opposite direction.
Alright, so you mean something... Whoop, wrong tool. Undo.
Yeah, more like that. Should be more of a over the top arch rather than inward arch. Not straight, just in like that shape.
Okay, good point.
I'm looking at the reference you've got on YouTube as well, not the one that you got on your screen.
I think it's the same one, just cropped.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, those are valid points. I recommend having someone else looking at your work, someone that you can trust to give you some feedback, to get you out of your headspace, because you just get used to what you're doing. And it's easy to get lost too with what you're used to, which in my case is looking at my own lips, which are very different. Yeah, I think I might be doing too much angle here when they are flatter, but that's part of the practice, part of understanding. And again, I know that this part is not super exciting to watch, because like we got pretty much all the shapes and now it's just like adjustment, and that adjustment can take a lot of time and can be quite boring, but it's like an important stage. So please send us any question that you might have. If there's something that is not particularly clear, if there's something that you maybe struggle with, or you're just curious about. Okay, so I'm just gonna make another mask to fix what Michael told me, like this distance was also very long for what it's for the reference. And this is where it actually helps to go on your reference and actually paint those rhythms, like paint this mask, like break it down with lines instead of looking at a photo that has so much information. It can be overwhelming looking at so much information, whereas if you take 10 minutes to trace over a reference, you might do much better. And the chat is closing on my phone, so I gotta open it again just to make sure. And I'm looking at the chat that mirrors are a good idea. Yes, they're a brilliant idea. It's especially for sculpting. It's the best if you can feel the volumes. Like not only like we tend to just look at them and be like, yeah, that's alright. But especially if you're like talking about human sculptures, make sure that they feel alright. That where you see that there's a bump up, you can actually feel it. And if you see a flat area, you can actually just judge the volumes with a different measure than just our eyes. Okay, I'm gonna change to a different matte cap, because also changing matte caps is good for refreshing my mind and make sure that I'm going in the right direction. And these matte caps are the ones that Michael and I made. Some of them are painted, some of them are rendered. I have a video explaining the matte caps, and in that video there is a link in which you can download for free 3 of these matte caps. But if you're interested in buying all of them, you can get them either on Patreon or Gumroad.
For $5.
Yep, for $5, so they're pretty cheap. It's 39 matte caps, so it's quite a lot of them. Rendered and hand painted. And honestly, I use them all the time. Nothing against the ones that are by default on the software, but sometimes I guess I need a bit more than what is offered there. Okay, maybe a higher level of resolution and enhance this corner with pinch. I need to notch this a little and work on the shapes. These walls of the philtrum at the moment are very thin, which is not accurate. Again, you can feel them or you can see them on the reference. They're actually thicker and they also slide down inside. So more like this. Again, for refining, smooth is good, but using flatten also helps a lot. Right. So yeah, I mean, the shapes are there, the volumes are there. It's really more adjustments to make sure that it looks more similar to the reference. And you must know that working on making like likeness portraits, like trying to really make something look as someone, that's one of the hardest things. First, you might need a lot of reference, which is really difficult to get. It's not like in painting that you might be okay with a couple points of views. For sculpting, you're gonna need way more reference, a lot of different angles, so that makes it hard. So if you are a beginner at this, don't get too stressed if they don't look too much like the person. Try to get more like a generic human being, like focus and make it look like a human being first. And with practice, you'll be able to take more time and be more conscious of the differences that make it look specific to a person, if that makes sense. And also know that it takes time. So I don't know if I'm gonna be super successful at getting the likeness today. I might not. Sometimes it actually helps to take a break. Maybe wait till the next day so your mind is refreshed after sleep. With the tutorials, I take way more time than just this hour for the live stream. I work on them, I make a lot of tests, I edit the bad parts, whereas here you can see every single moment, good or bad. Which I actually appreciate a lot that you're watching. I hope this is not too boring. And I'm trying to get like this depression underneath the bottom lip, just so you know. I think one of the reasons why it might look too feminine is because there's like a lot of swoosh, like going up and down in the crease, where it's actually way flatter. So again, multi-resolution, let's flatten out. This crease, cool, starting to look a bit better. Now I might also need to adjust my side view. I'm gonna protect the lips with a mask so it's easier. Oh, the chat. Focus and make it look like a human being. Good advice. Still challenging, however. Yeah, I know. I can show you some failed attempts of sculpts. I'm currently trying to figure out a workflow for like a full realistic human face, which means that I need to do it a lot on my own, and sometimes it's like some disturbing results. Okay, I just want to make sure that from the side view, the top lip protrudes a bit more than the bottom one, because that's very common. Sometimes they might be aligned, but in this case, yeah, the front one is like a step. I can probably kind of paint it. I'm gonna illustrate it here, like it does this step rhythm, which I didn't have before, and I'm trying to get to right now. Might need to refine that mask. I see that there's some funny looking polygons here. It should actually taken the time to do a better mask, but at the same time I don't want to make this process boring for you while I'm slowly masking, taking 10 hours to make one mask. If you have questions maybe on the tools, do let me know. I am currently working on a video series explaining each of the sculpting tools with a bit of detail. So things like what's the difference between brush and clay, or between move and drag, that sort of things. I can probably answer a lot of questions. I'm still figuring out a lot on my own, which can be challenging because you might know that there's not a lot of Nomad educational material out there. So it's good for us as a channel because it's like, yeah, people are looking at us because we're some of the only ones. But at the same time, when I need to learn how to do something, it's like, there's no one who knows. So yeah, that can be annoying sometimes. Let's just get this depression. And something that I'm actually not doing here, but you might see that it's common, especially when you are doing models for animation, is that they start modeling with the mouth open. Because you actually want to have the separation between the lips, you would have like a hole inside the mouth, so you can actually animate and open and close the mouth. In this case, it's not the objective for this model, so we're not focusing on that. If you are doing that, if that's your objective, the process is like still very similar. You would start with the mouth open, and at some point you would do a mask to protect the top area and start closing the mouth. Maybe use a sphere and put it like inside the mouth, and then with a boolean hide it. I can probably show you real quick what I mean instead of just narrating it. So I'm just gonna save before doing anything weird, and I'm just gonna do it here behind. So let's say that's gonna be the mouth area, like the inside of the mouth. So I'm gonna hide this sphere. I'm gonna select with the checkbox the rest, and I'm gonna do a voxel merge. I usually start with kind of low resolution. Multi-resolution will be lost after a voxel, and now you can see that that sphere was used to make a hole. So yeah, outside of that you would start, that hole looks really weird. If I put lips on it, I won't. But yeah, you would carve the lips and then you would close them. So that's essentially the process that you would make. But as I said, in this case, it's not the objective, which is why I'm not doing it. But I think it's worth to mention because you might be willing to take these models and later animate them. So actually I would like to know what you guys, what are your objectives for Nomad? Like, what are you after? Are you after maybe 3D printing? Are you after, maybe are you just starting learning sculpting, but you wish to go more towards animation? Yeah, I don't know. Why are you learning Nomad? I would love to know that. Oh, we have someone else in the chat saying hi. Oh, thank you for joining the channel. And thank you for coming for the live stream. We would love to know where you all guys are from. So far we have someone from Mexico, my home country, from France, from the US, from San Francisco. And as mentioned before, Michael and I are based in New Zealand, the lovely New Zealand. Let me change madcaps again. Let's try. This is a very similar light, so I just want to have something with a different lighting so I can judge things better. Oh yeah, I just saw it. We have someone joining from India. Brilliant.
What part of India?
Yeah, what part of India are you from? I lived in Australia with Michael for 3 months in 2018, and one time we went to a Formula 1 race and I was hanging out with the Mexican flag and everything Mexican, and there was a drunk man that approached me and he started talking to me about the flag and that it was really cool and something about the eagle in the Mexican flag and stuff. And then he just said like, oh, I never realized that the Indian flag had an eagle. And Michael and I were just like, like, this man is too drunk and probably has never seen a Mexican in his life. We just nodded and left. And now Michael mocks me about the Mexican eagle. The Indian eagle. There's not many brown people in Australia, so I guess that it's not uncommon that they just assume that you are Indian. Michael is really quiet today. Well, I think they're looking a bit better. These lips, hopefully. And Kit says he's from South India. He's looking for some inspiration while working on a personal project and found your live stream. Oh, that's nice. What sort of personal project are you working on? Maybe something character based. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about it. I think I'm actually not far away from finishing this one. Yeah, we'll be going maybe for another 15 minutes. So, any question, feel free to share them. Working on likeness. Yeah, that's the hardest part. Yeah. I honestly struggle a lot with that, and I think that's probably not very exciting in a live stream to see all the small adjustments on trying to get someone likeness. It is a challenging stage of the process, and it can actually take a long time, especially if you're new to it. I don't know for how long you've been doing this, but I did sculpting at school when I was in university, and then I stopped. I went more on the direction of illustration, and I actually was very mad at sculpting because I had a bad teacher and I said I would never do it again. But here I am. And a lot of the concepts of illustration I'm taking when I'm sculpting, which is good, like all the knowledge on anatomy and structuring, on starting very general, and then once you have all the blocking, all the big shapes, you actually worry about the details. That's very similar to drawing, so it's good. It's two disciplines that go together very well. Challenging but rewarding. Yeah. Eventually it will be rewarding when I get it right. So hopefully this sculpt, you find it useful, this process. This mask of the face.
Sure.
If you 3D printed, how far would you go in details? I think Michael would be better at answering this question. He's got more experience.
So if you're 3D printing, it will depend on the size or the scale of the 3D print that you're doing and the resolution of the print that you're doing. So because if you do have a high detail model but you're doing a lower resolution print, then it's not going to pick up all those details necessarily. So if you want the versatility to be able to do anything with the model, I would say make sure it's high detail, just because then you can, use it in future for something else if you wish, or if you decide to print it at a higher resolution in future, you can. But yeah, ultimately it just comes down to what the output resolution is and the output size. So if it's going to be larger, say if it's going to be the size of an adult's fist or larger for say something like this mouth, then you'd want it to be reasonably high resolution because you're going to see all that detail. But if it's a lot smaller, say if it's just like a little character or something like that, that's the size of your thumb, then you don't really need all the detail there, so you can go in and reduce it quite a bit. We did a retopology tutorial recently which you could use to help lower the resolution of your model before you 3D print. Otherwise it just depends on the software that you're using as to how you go about doing that. But I think for the most part, yeah, it just comes down to the size and the scale of the model that you're going to be printing.
Yeah, what Michael said. Do you think you can post a link to that tutorial in the chat?
The retopo?
Yeah, are you talking about the dynamic retopo? Or is it another one?
Any of.
Yeah, because one way to prepare your models for 3D printing. Sorry, I'm gonna drink a bit more water. My voice is acting up again. Okay, yeah. It's going to dynamic topology here in this menu. If you do a global retopology, which is at the very bottom of the menu, You can set it to decimation. With decimation, what's gonna do is gonna reduce detail, because right now we have this mesh that has a lot of polygons, and especially like polygons that we don't need, like in the back we don't need this amount of detail. So with decimation, what I can do is I'm gonna paint the area where I have detail, the area that I want to keep all this, and then I'm gonna decimate the rest, and here in detail I can choose. So I probably don't need crazy resolution, so I'm just gonna remesh. This is gonna kill multi-resolution, so I would do this once I'm done and see how it reduces the amount of polygons. I could even go lower, because again this is an area with no detail whatsoever. Let's just leave it like that for now. I'm gonna go to the lips, and here I would add more detail. Let's put it somewhere like that, and again remesh. Didn't really do much difference. Not sure what's going on here. I think, uniformization we'll remove, and we'll add detail if needed. So maybe let's see what happens. So that was probably too much, so I'm gonna go lower in detail and see what happens. But yeah, this is a good way to prepare your models for 3D printing, so you can keep the detail where you want it and remove it where you don't need it. And here probably I went too low, because you can see that it's not perfectly defined these areas. So it's a bit of like trial and error to see how low I can go and stuff. But yeah, that's a useful tool that we got in Nomad. Just gonna revert back to what I had. And again, just keep refining. Just gonna mask this bottom to try to work on the top area without affecting this. And it's true what I see on the model. Sorry, on the chat. When you have a high resolution model, it's easy to go into lower resolutions, whereas it's a bit more difficult the other way around. Masking is very convenient, especially in this kind of models, because the lips are so close together that if I move one a little bit, I will more likely move the other one. Here what I want to do is retreat this area, because there's two on the front when it should be more towards the back. If you hold down here on the side this mask button and you tap on your mask, it will blur it. If you tap outside of your mask, it will make it sharper. So this is a not very known shortcut, but it's very handy. It's a similar one to reverse it. Yeah, I think this ones need to have a better connection to its sides. I still think I'm too much leaning on the feminine looking side, which is not accurate for my reference.
Okay.
And again, I wonder how one would go about 3D printing a character with curly hairs. I think maybe a good reference would be the Disney Infinity figures or the Amiibos of Nintendo. But here I have an example. Because you would have to go kind of stylized. I don't know how well you can appreciate this. This is Poe Dameron from Star Wars. And his hair is quite stylized. I know that it's not curly, but it's like big chunks, like big groups. So
what's the girl from that Scottish Pixar movie?
Merida. Yeah, from the movie Brave.
Yeah, there's a Disney, Disney Infinity of her, I think. I feel like I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, that must be a thing. Yeah, so I think that's a good example. I don't know if there's a Nintendo character with curly hair though.
Yeah, there is that Disney Infinity one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that would probably be the best reference that I can point out to.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one. Let me see if I can link it.
Yeah. Yeah, because...
There's a really good resolution one on the Amazon page, so I'm just going to put that in chat.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Here is a whole topic. Because just by like the nature of sculpting itself, it's not gonna let you really go in crazy detail. So, like if you're gonna go realistic, you probably wouldn't sculpt it. It would be something more like simulated. But if you're going for a sculptor, it's always thinking about how to stylize it. I have a video on digital painting for hair and fur. It's not really for sculpting because that was before I started seriously on Nomad. But I do explain like the logic behind hair. I go into the different types of hair and fur, like what makes them unique. So it might be a good reference to check out to see like what's the logic, because if you understand like how it works in realism, it's gonna inform you to do stylized decisions, because you can choose like which rules of realism you want to follow against which ones you are gonna like just take your own decisions. And yeah, we're just about to wrap up. I'm kind of happy with the bottom lid, but I feel like the top one still looks a bit feminine. So yeah.
How would you handle the creases?
The creases?
In the legs.
Like the all the detail, you mean?
Are you gonna go into that or not today?
I can go super quick. I'm gonna make a duplicate. And I'm just gonna name it, so in case I mess up, I have something to bounce back to. I'm gonna hide it, and here I'm gonna go detail, and I'm actually going to voxel merge this because at the moment we have this. So I'm gonna lose all my levels of resolution, but if I'm gonna do detail, I need more polygons here. Let's see here how it goes. Might need to wait a second. Yep, just gonna do a bit of smoothing to unify these shapes. Again, I wouldn't do this until the rest works, because now I have even more resolution and I can't go down like before. Okay, for the creases, something you definitely want to avoid is maybe using like this alpha and just like carving shapes, carving down, because this is gonna make them symmetrical and all parallel, and those creases are not parallel, they follow the shapes of the pillow. So around the very front they're gonna be more like in this heart shape, and then they're gonna be more like the outer pillows, more like it's better if I just do it instead of trying to explain it. So I would say avoid any kind of alpha. What I rather do is use a combination of the inflate tool. I'm gonna turn off symmetry because this is gonna be, no, we don't want it to be symmetrical. And I'm also gonna change the pressure settings a little bit. For radius and intensity, make sure that it starts low. I can even like tap this curve and it's gonna show me some presets that I can change from. Maybe let's put this smooth step. This might be useful to have like a nicer fade in and out. And here, follow this shape of the heart. And it's gonna be like carving up and down. And something important, we are not crossing the whole lip like top to bottom, like it's, if you start from the bottom it fades towards the top, and if you start from the top it fades towards the bottom. So yeah, we're not really crossing the whole thing. Make them fade nicely. So yes, here the rhythm changes, like it opens up. It's not here vertical, but it's more the flow of the pillows. So this is really general. I'm not gonna go, I don't think I'm gonna finish perfect detail here because it's gonna take me a bit of time. But yeah, try adding and subtracting. If you are curious about like where the creases are stronger, you can try looking at the mirror and making like a kiss, because this is gonna accentuate all these creases, so it helps to see their position a bit better. I'm sorry, I closed the chat. I'm just gonna open it real quick to make sure I'm not missing stuff. And to enhance them, I would also use the crease tool, but I would change the fall off to something more like a point. And maybe add more pinch force. So yeah, it would be a combination of these two tools to make here, and I actually might need even more resolution than what I have at the moment. Both of these tools, use them subtracting and adding geometry. And if you already made this and you realize that you need to change a little bit your volumes, do not use the clay tool, because the clay tool is gonna destroy detail. Oh wait, this has an alpha. Okay, clay tool is gonna destroy detail. It's better to use the brush tool, because the brush tool is kind of gonna keep as much as possible all that. So let's say that I need to have more volume. I could do this, and I'm gonna keep most of what I already sculpted in detail. So just a handy tool. That's a big difference between these two tools, clay and brush. In case you were curious, clay is better at early stages, and brush is gonna be better once you have detail that you wanna preserve. So yeah, I think that is it for today. We're gonna leave it here. I might work a bit more on this to try to achieve more lightness, but yeah, you've seen the most important part of the process if you have any final question, let us know. Otherwise, we're just gonna wrap up. You can see at the bottom of the screen we have the social media if you want to follow our work. Yeah, we're posting videos every week. We'd love to know what you want to see on the videos, of course, because yeah, it's just better because we're trying to guess, like, yeah, like this might be popular, this might be useful for some people, but it's always better to know what you guys really want to see instead of us basing what we see on the numbers that YouTube tell us, like, yeah, like this is popular but this not so much. Like, it's just nicer to have this human interaction. Well, I'm glad to see that you are learning. I'm trying hard to do something useful here. Hopefully it wasn't very boring to see all those like tiny details that you work on during a sculpt. But yeah, well, thanks again very much. Michael is on the chat, I think he's just saying bye. But we will see you soon, and feel free to send us a message or hear comments anywhere. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you soon.